stops completely. Body temperature, which usually hovers around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, will start dropping by 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit every hour until it reaches room temperature. Within just a few minutes, cells start to break down because they're no longer receiving oxygen from the lungs. After just a few hours, the calcium in the body starts to collect in the muscles, making them stiff. After about a day and a half, the muscles will relax again. In just a few weeks, hair starts falling out, and all sorts of little bugs eat over half of the body. After several months, depending on the temperature, everything will completely decompose until just a skeleton is left. Kinda spooky. Okay, wait. So if a body becomes a skeleton after just a few months, how do archaeologists find mummies and preserve people from thousands of years ago? That's a good question, me. Well, for starters, most of the time bones are what archaeologists dig up. Bodies that stay preserved that long are way more rare and go by a name you've probably heard: mummies. A mummy is a dead person or animal whose body is preserved intentionally or unintentionally long after their death. Most people can picture a mummy that was made on purpose, but sometimes it can happen accidentally. For example, there are chemicals in peat moss that can almost perfectly preserve bodies for hundreds or even thousands of years. Extremely dry places like deserts can also keep a body mummified naturally, as can extreme cold. Probably the most famous example of a spontaneous mummy is Otzi. Also known as the Iceman, Otzi is an extremely well-preserved natural mummy of a man who lived and died more than 5,000 years ago. His body was found on an icy mountain range in 1991, completely encased in ice. He's the oldest known natural mummy in Europe, and since being found, has helped scientists discover tons of new information about what it was like to live thousands of years ago. Now that's just about as cool as ice. Or maybe I just have the chills from all this death talk. And now...
So that's what happens after you die, people.
Between 17 and 21 million people in the U.S. suffer from the hard-to-pronounce paraskevidecatria, or the fear of the unluckiest day on the calendar, Friday the 13th. But when did a fear of this dreaded day start, and why did it catch on? Let's find out on today's episode of... Nobody is exactly sure where the fear of Friday the 13th started, but most experts agree it likely has something to do with the number 12. Throughout history, 12 has been considered a complete number by many cultures. There are 12 months in a year, 12 gods of Olympus in Greek mythology, and 12 sons of Odin in Viking mythology. There are 12 Jewish tribes of Israel, 12 Christian apostles of Jesus, 12 stages of life in Buddhism, and 12 signs of the Chinese zodiac. Since 12 was considered complete, and therefore the perfect number, adding one more number threw off that perfect balance, making 13 an irregular and over time unlucky number. So, why is it Friday the 13th? Over time, Friday has taken on its own significance in Western cultures as an unfortunate bloody day. Most Roman crucifixions took place on Fridays, including the most famous crucifixion of all time, Jesus. So, as Christianity spread, Friday's unlucky reputation spread as well. Over time, Friday the 13th took on its own spooky significance because it was a combination of two separate superstitions. A super superstition! Nowadays, we still see remnants of this superstition in our everyday lives. Many tall buildings skip the 13th floor, street addresses sometimes skip from 12 to 14, and airports occasionally don't have a 13th gate. But, despite all the precautions, many studies have shown that there's no increase in the number of accidents or injuries when Friday the 13th rolls around. So, Friday the 13th might make you a little uneasy, but it's safe to say you probably have nothing to worry about. But, that being said, I'd steer clear of any black cats or broken mirrors. You know, just to be safe. And now you know why Friday the 13th is considered unlucky. Comment below.
I wish I got a watch.
And I got a game.
I wish I got headphones with a big brand name.
And I got a TV that's too good to explain.
I wish I got it.
Today, we have a question that's brought to us by the brand new season of DreamWorks Spirit accurate riding free. Do horses sleep standing up? Let's find out on today's episode of In the wild, horses almost always need to be on the lookout for potential attacking predators. That's because horses have straight backs, which makes it harder for them to get up off the ground quickly. This means that horses don't like sleeping on the ground where they're helpless if they're attacked. So instead, horses need to do most of their sleeping in broad daylight. Luckily, horses have special joints in their legs that let them lock their knees in place so they can fall asleep standing up without tipping over. So yes, horses can sleep standing up, and they do it all the time. But that also doesn't mean they never lie down. That's right. Unfortunately for horses, they might be able to take little cat naps while standing up, but in order to get deep, restful sleep, horses need to lay down like the rest of us. If you're ever at a stable and you see a group of horses laying down asleep, look around for one or more horses standing apart, keeping a watchful eye for predators while their friends sleep. The role of guardian horse rotates between the members of the group so that everyone can get enough rest. So, in other words, it's kind of like a big horsey slumber party. And now you know why horses sleep standing up. Comment below if you have a question you'd like to know the answer to. And don't forget to... If there's one thing dog owners have heard over and over again, it's that dogs can't have chocolate. But why? Is it just something your mom says? Or can chocolate really hurt man's best friend? Let's find out on today's episode of... Okay, let's start with the basics. Humans have cultivated the cacao beans for at least 3,500 years. The Olmecs of southern Mexico were probably the first people to grind and roast the beans for food and drinks. But before your mouth starts watering, it was nothing like the chocolate we eat today. The Aztecs called chocolate chocolado, which means sour or bitter drink. Today, chocolate tastes so good because we add lots of sugar to make it sweet and tasty. So it's no wonder that people everywhere want to share it with their pets. But beware, because what they say is true. Chocolate definitely is toxic to dogs. That's because chocolate contains caffeine and a chemical called theobromine. When humans eat these chemicals, we just get a little jolt of energy because we can process them quickly. Dogs, however, aren't quite as lucky. They process these chemicals slower, which makes the effects much stronger. If a canine eats too much chocolate, they can have diarrhea, vomiting, muscle spasms, excessive panting, hyperactive behavior, and even seizures. Okay, so chocolate is bad for dogs, but is it toxic enough to kill them? Well, in severe cases, they can overheat, have trouble breathing, or even experience an irregular heartbeat, all of which can cause death. So how much chocolate is too much for a pooch? Well, it depends on the size of the dog and the kind of chocolate. Smaller dogs will have more severe reactions, and the amount of caffeine and theobromine in chocolate varies. Cocoa powder has the most, then unsweetened baker's chocolate, then dark chocolate, then milk chocolate. That means it would take around 2.5 regular-sized chocolate bars to hurt a dog the size of a chocolate lab. You might be surprised how many other common foods are dangerous for dogs. You should never feed your dog avocados, onions, garlic, coffee, grapes, macadamia nuts, or overly salty or sugary foods. But don't worry, you can still give your best friend some human food treats. Just stick to unseasoned lean meats like turkey, fruits without seeds or stems, and a few vegetables like carrots, green beans, and cucumber. You know, like your mom eats. So, can chocolate kill your canine? Yeah, it can, especially if it gets into cocoa powder. But regular old chocolate bars will probably just give them a bad stomachache. That is, unless they really pig out. In other words, just don't take your puppy trick-or-treating. And now you know that chocolate can cause serious problems for your dog. Comment below if you have a question you'd like to know the answer. What? Oh, sorry guys. I was having a dream about my dog. Speaking of dreams, have you ever stopped and wondered what's going on in your furry friend's head while it sleeps? Do animals have dreams the same way humans do? Let's find out on today's episode of... The hardest part about answering this question for scientists is that, well, pets can't tell us about their... Not animals' dream comes from what we know about our own dreams. Each night, about an hour or two after you fall asleep, your eyeballs will start darting around behind your closed eyelids. This stage of your sleep cycle is called REM, or REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement. During this stage, your body is powered down, but your brain is as active as when you're awake. For humans, the REM stage is when dreaming begins. Many scientists have looked at the brain activity of sleeping animals to try and solve the mystery once and for all. What they found is that almost all mammals and birds have a REM stage when they sleep, and cold-blooded animals like reptiles, amphibians, and fish don't. But the research didn't stop there. Researchers at MIT put rats on a track and measured their brain activity while they moved towards food at the other end of the track. Once the same rats fell into the REM stage of sleep, they measured their brain again and saw identical patterns. This led scientists to believe that the rats were dreaming about running for food on the track. Many experts believe the same thing is true for dogs. Like rats, pups likely dream about their day-to-day lives and experiences. Pretty cool. Even cooler, the smaller the dog, the more it dreams. Small dogs can have dreams as often as every 10 minutes, while big dogs can have an hour or two between dreams. In another study, scientists measured the brain activity of singing birds. Once the birds fell asleep, the researchers measured again, and you guessed it, the brain activity was almost exactly the same. The experts still don't know for sure, but this has led many to believe that the birds are either dreaming about singing, or they can hear their own song in their sleep. So, does your little pug muffin dream? Many experts think it's likely. So next time your dog starts running in place while it's sleeping, rest assured, she's probably dreaming about that great